stretch, and how important that was.
Well, we've had a run of good free throw shooting the last few games. I think we're 48 for 49 in our last 2 games. And, we're the kind of team that has to grind out wins. We're not a team that gets up and finishes teams yet. We haven't learned that skill. And, Pace was playing undermanned and with the, nothing to lose attitude. And, so we had to make adjustments to guys that we haven't seen play very much this year. And a couple of them made some shots on us. And, I think the game always comes, most games in our conference come down to 3 possessions or less. And today was no different. The game came down to 3 possessions. And, Dom diving for a loose ball at half court, knocking it out of bounds off, pace player was a huge hustle play. And those are the kinds of things that don't show up on the stat form. Devin Grimes gave us a big lift in the first half. I thought, again, statistically speaking, he had an average game for him, but I thought he gave us, a real lift in the first half when we had some foul trouble and Sheldon wasn't making shots. He wasn't comfortable out there, and we're always going to rely on our guards, and it came down to Andre, Goody, and Shea making plays, making free throws down the stretch, and certainly any win in February is a good win. We haven't been a pretty team all year long. I don't expect us to be a pretty team now. I will take solace in the fact that we made our free throws. We out-rebounded a good rebounding team, and we had a season-low 6 turnovers, which has been a critical area for us, and one that certainly we have spent a lot of time talking about, viewing, trying to get our guys to make better decisions, and I thought that we did a good job there today. But, a lot of times when you're not making shots, Brian, it carries over to the defensive end of the floor. Mm-hmm. And I thought that we had a place in that game where we weren't making shots and we were getting sloppy and we were getting soft on defense. The good thing is that neither team made shots. And I think we were stuck on 43 for about 4 or 5 minutes. And I thought that the one good thing that came out of that was I thought that Pace got tired. Mm-hmm. And we were able to rest guys and then finish up with guys that, hadn't been sprinting up and down the floor, missing shots. And that, I think, was the difference in the game today.
You guys rebounded very well in the first half, and then, kind of got away from you guys for a while there. Was it something they were doing, or were you guys just, like you said, was it something that had gotten into their heads on the offensive end, you think that?
Well, I think sometimes when our defense is away from us in the second half, our guys have a tendency to relax a little bit. When our guys are in front of us in the first half, typically we play solid defense. We rebound the ball pretty well because guys, we're helping them. We're telling them where to adjust. And what was happening was they were getting shots, and Keon Williams is pretty quick off his feet. Delroy Daly's a pretty powerful kid, and those 2 guys eat a lot of rebounds. They've got almost 170 offensive rebounds between them. So, we knew that was a strength of theirs. We knew that it was a key for us. We talked about controlling the ball, keeping the ball in front of us, and controlling the glass. And I thought that we did a great job in the first half. At times in the second half, we did a poor job, but I think we made them rely on jump shots at the end of the game, which, I was comfortable with that more so than them going to Keon Williams and just letting them overpower us.
Right. You've won 4 in a row. You got 3 regular season games left. Obviously, anybody can beat anybody in this league. We've seen it for a while, but the 3 teams are below you in the standings. Is this a good opportunity to get on a roll? I mean, to win 7 in a row, get up to 20 wins.
Oh, Brian, you are so far ahead of me right now.
Okay, yeah. I figured that's what you'd say.
See you guys.
Okay.
I mean,
but just talk about building some momentum going into the tournament.
We're not even sure what our practice schedule is for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at with this group. Every day is an individual day. Mm-hmm. Certainly you looked at our schedule. We had a tough start. We had a lot of road games, and we knew that it would come around, and we told our guys if they could weather that stretch, that good things were going to be available for them if they put themselves in the position that we felt they could put themselves in. We're in that position. Mm-hmm. But, home court's meaningless. your opponent is meaningless. You know, it's an easy game when the ball goes in. When the ball doesn't go in, anything can happen. And, you know, you got to play every game for 40 minutes. There's, you know, we've seen number 16 beat number 1 on senior night, and 16 had nothing to play for, and 1 was playing to host the NCAA tournament. So, you know, nothing's sacred in this conference, and, you know, we, like I said, we were spending 5 minutes in there figuring out what the next 3 days of practice were going to look like, and who had class what night, and how we were going to try to get everybody together for an hour so that we could review some of today and then look forward. So, you know, we try to learn each day, Brian, we try to learn from each day. So, you know, we'll spend tomorrow reviewing today,
Right.
and then introduce our next opponent.
Just talk about, though, the importance of building momentum at this time of year without getting too far ahead in games.
Yeah, well, you know, there's no question about it. You know, I think winning breeds winning, and you want to have the kind of momentum that we're currently experiencing. It makes it easier to come to practice in the dog days of February. See you guys. It makes it easy to come to video when you know that you're playing for something, and you want to be playing well down the stretch, and you want to be playing at home if you can. And we've got a chance to do both. We've got a chance to keep playing at home, and we've got a chance to keep playing well. We've had, you know, different guys helping us do different things on different nights, and you know, Brian didn't have a great game tonight, but Dom lifted us, Devin lifted us. You know, Goody had, you know, the typical Goody night, and our 3 guards were solid as solid could be. So, you know, that's our team right now.
Talk about Goody, the season he's had, what he had to, you know, be patient for. I mean, a lot of kids, if, you know, they've been here 2-3 years and they're not getting that time, and just in college in general, some kids will want to get out, other kids, you know, be frustrated. I mean, just talk about, you know, the mentality he's had to wait his turn. And
well,
you know.
I'll say that I find that today's 18, 19, 20-year-old is not very patient, and most players, most competitors, whether they accept their role or not, want more. It's rare to find people like Rob Gutierrez, who practiced as hard as he did. He was always in great shape. He's been in the weight room since he's been here. He does a great job in the classroom. And, you know, he's the guy that, I won't say that I predicted this because it sounds conceited, but we knew that he was capable of being a dominant player in our league. He had practices where he was the best player on our team. And some days I would think to myself, but he's not playing 35 minutes a game every night. Practice is his show. But there was days where he was our best player. And, you know, Goody's a guy, his biggest weakness is his unselfishness. He gets to a point in the game and he'll say to himself, you know, I just took 4 shots in a row. I got to pass this to somebody. And instead of dominating his player and forcing the opponent's hand, he'll back off thinking that he doesn't want to be the guy on a team that is a chucker. And we've tried to get him to be that go-to guy. You're the guy we want to take shots. You're the guy that we want to make plays. And he is still learning that role. So, you know, we've had guys that have stepped into opportunities over the years, that have waited their turn, that have blossomed. None more inspiring to me than Rob Gutierrez. You know, just a hard worker, keeps his mouth shut, just plays. He competes defensively, and he wants to win more than he wants to read about himself statistically.
I was going to say, how important is his versatility to you guys? Because he can get to the rim, he can shoot the 3, he's got a good mid-range game, he can handle the ball, he can rebound, he can play defense. I mean, you know, he can certainly do a lot of different things for you guys. Just talk about that versatility and the complete package that he's got.
We ask Rob to score in 5 different ways. We tell him we want him to score off his defense, we want him to score in transition, we want him to get on the glass, we want him to get to the free throw line, and we want him to be able to score at the end of the clock. He does all those. That's what makes him such a difficult matchup for teams, because it's not just finding him in transition or locating him in our action, because we just play. We try to teach our guys how to play, how to, you know, what angles, shot selection, on-time open man, rhythm finds the shot, and Goody is that guy who moves without the ball. He can get to the rim with 2 dribbles. He can size a guy up and shoot it on him. Like you say, he can back a guy in and shoot over a mid-range. And when he gets 2 or 3 hustle baskets on the glass, and then he gets to the free throw line, you know, you look at the way he scored today, he probably scored in 4 out of those 5 ways, if not all 5. You know, Shea's not that player.
Right.
Andre's not that player.
Right.
Brian's not that player. Sheldon's not that player, but Goody is. Goody's like Bucci was. Bad comparison, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Bucci scored in
Yeah.
5 different ways.
Right. And it's one thing if he's, you know, if his 3-pointers are off, he can do it in a different
Yeah.
way. That sort of.
And that's what makes him, he's a scorer. He's not a shooter. He's not a playmaker. He's a scorer. And he does a great job scoring the ball. And we want him to score more. I mean, we've had games where, I want to say it was the Assumption game where I just sat back. It's easy to sit back as a coach knowing that you can score in every possession if we just get the ball to him and give him room. And he took that game over like a 5-6 minute point in that game, and they had no answer for him. They needed 2 timeouts. They changed defenders on him like they did here today. And, you know, they tried little guys, they tried big guys, they tried powerful guys, they tried bodying him up, they tried holding him on pin downs, and he just continues to move. And, you know, he was under-recruited out of high school. His high school coach is a longtime friend of mine. I worked camps with Jim Pittman for 25 years ago, and when he called us up, I know Jim's not a guy to call me up and say, I got a guy for you, like a lot of people do. He knows the league. He worked at Adelphi, and he understands the level, and we went right out and watched him play. I loved him the first time I saw him play. You know, English is the second language in his home. His family's from the Dominican Republic, and he's a guy who works very hard at everything that he does. He works hard at the classroom stuff. He works hard at being a good player. He works hard at being a good teammate, and he wants success for the other guys too. It's not just about him. And you know, he takes criticism hard because he wants to please. So he doesn't like when he feels like he's letting you down. And we've tried to teach him, you know, it's okay to be criticized. It's, you know, it's part of the learning process. But he takes it to heart. He wants to you know, do the best that he can. And he's a guy who, like I said, he inspires me because he's the guy we want to point out and say to other players, you know, this guy waited his turn. It doesn't always happen like Andre, where you get to start as a freshman, or Shea. Sometimes you got to wait. And here's a good example of what happens when you work hard, you have a good attitude, and you put your time in.
How important is that for, you know, a younger kid like Kareem Thomas or some of the other, you know, kids who are going to have to wait a year or two to see that example and, you know, buy into that?
Well, you know, a perfect example is Kareem, because unless something drastic happens, Kareem's going to have to wait again.
Right.
And, you know, what we keep telling him is you got to learn from Andre, you got to learn from Shea, you got to learn from Goody, and not just the things that they do well. You got to learn from the mistakes that they make so that you don't duplicate those mistakes. This is a learning opportunity without you making all those mistakes. And, you know, we think Kareem is a very good player. We think he's a talented kid. He's got quickness. He made a great play for us today in the second half where he knocked a loose ball. They were making a run, and he was able to get the ball out for us in transition, and he gave us a lift. He wants to be out on the floor. He wants more. And it's a perfect example. I mean, I can go back over the years and look at Michael Epperson, Clayton Longmire. There's a long line of guys that had to sit and wait, and when they had their opportunity, they blossomed. And it can't happen to a nicer guy.
Outstanding.